Her mellifluous voice in the haunting melody of Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam has been appreciated by music lovers all over. After a brief period of struggle in Bollywood, Kavitha Subramanyam went on to win the Filmfare Award for 1942, A Love Story. She then completed a hat-trick by bagging the award in the next 2 years. Today, Kavitha Krishnamurthy Subramaniam is one of the most sought-after playback singers in Indian film music. L. Subramaniam is the best this listener has heard, hails the New York Times. In the concert history of Indian music, Dr. Subramaniam is one of the few of the greatest musicians who have earned an international reputation of complete and utmost integrity. His prodigious talent was evident at the age of 2 when he repeated musical phrases that his father sang. Today, we come face to face with the marriage of music and minds. Welcome to inDialog, Dr. Subramaniam and Kavitha Subramaniam. Can you tell us how you both met?
Obviously, it was through music. He called me for a recording, and I sang, and that started off the process of singing a little more for him, and then a little more for him. And it was a few months before we realized that we were attached to each other.
But you have always been and about Bachelor, and can you tell us what about Dr. Subramaniam made you change your mind?
It's probably because I probably hadn't met Mr. Right, the cliche. But I don't know, I really felt very drawn to him right from the beginning. From the time I met him, and then his great music, and then he's a very kind person. I could see the kindness, and then the children, everything. I don't know, everything fell into place for me, and then my heart told me that he was the person that I'd been sort of waiting for. Sounds like a fairy tale, but it's true.
What kind of projects do you have lined up?
Right now, one of the projects which I'm working for is solos and duets. There are other artists who are singing on the album, who have sung already, like Pandit Jasraj, Hariharan, Lucky Ali, and I still have to record 2 more artists. I'm finishing 2 more songs. Then my own fusion album and an orchestral album, which were featuring Ravi Hancock, Larry Collier, Hubert Laws, Stephen Grappelli, who died earlier. Some of the tracks which I didn't mix. So I'm trying to finish it because we launched our own label, Vidhya Records, with Sony in India. So we just launched it August 14th. The President of India released the first 5, or received the first 5 CDs. I'm supposed to bring out another 4 very soon, so I've been working like, till 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And she has been very supportive, comes and sits there and sleeps sometimes in the sofa.
Yes, that goes without saying, I guess, in a marriage. And what about you, about your film projects? What movies are you singing for at this time?
I sing for different films at different points of times, and in fact sometimes I don't even know the name of the film even after I finish the song, because they tell me it's still production number so and so, we haven't yet decided on the name. So I think the ones that probably which are ready for release, one of them is Shyam Benegal's Zubeda, which is going to be in the market, and another very interesting film which is Sanjay Bansali's next production, which is called Devdas. So Devdas also has some interesting songs. So as and when I get called for different movies, I get on with that work.
I read in one of your interviews, and I quote, "My aunt had the dream, and all I did was chase that dream." Did you want a career in film music?
Well, not when I was a child, because I was very, very fond of music. Everybody at home was, and so I learnt music as a hobby. And you know how it is, was pushed into some competitions and managed to win a few prizes. So it was my aunt who sort of really felt that I was made for music, and she felt I was made for commercial music. And it was really her dream, and she's the one who took the initiative by bringing me from Delhi to Bombay. My surrounding was totally different. My father was in the, working for the government in the Ministry of Education, so my environment was more academics, and at that time you dream of being either in administrative service or foreign service. So
you wanted to be in
in foreign service, because I thought that would take me to exotic postings and stuff like that. When I came to Bombay and I did college, it was only when I was studying in St. Xavier's College that I got to meet a cross-section of artists, students who were studying there, who later on came to the same profession as I did. And also, people like great singers like Hemant Kumar and Mr. Manna Dey. And I started singing on stage, and I started singing commercials and things like that. And by the time I finished my graduation, I realized it was no more my aunt's dream. It was my dream. It had taken over. Then I realized that music was the only thing which was going to give me happiness.
I wanted to ask you, Dr. Subramaniam, you're a great violinist and composer, and you've worked with great names such as Zubin Mehta and Yehudi Menuhin, to name a few. And do you prefer working on your own or collaborating? Which moves you more?
The playing violin, because I was born and brought up in a musical family. My father was a violinist. My dream was to be like him, things like that. So when I do concerts, I do 85-95% South Indian classical concerts in major cities, major halls. Then as a composer, I've always liked working with different people. And I was kind of drawn into it in a way because originally I was asked to do a fusion album with Larry Coryell and Stu Goldberg and people like that. Then later on I was asked to play for Mr. Menuhin's birthday big celebration with all the politicians, everybody in Germany. Then when I was asked to do a special piece for the 40th year of India's independence in UN, they said it would be nice if I can write a piece for me and Mr. Menuhin to do it. So I wrote a piece for Menuhin. When Mr. Mehta said for the India Festival he wanted to do 4 days special composition, and he said, can you write a piece where you can be the soloist and I'd like you to play the whole solo part. So I wrote a piece with Mr. Mehta to do it was a wonderful experience to work with him. Same thing with Menuhin. Then Grappelli, I met him in France when I was doing a concert. He came to meet me at the backstage. That led to that project. So it's like partly they're doing like a lot of Indian classical, partly like the last piece I did for the UN 50th year was Global Fusion.
Tell us about your experience when you stepped in for Lata Mangeshkar early on in your career.
Well, I'd say that was one of the best training grounds I got, because I made sure I dubbed only for Lakshmikant Pyarlal, who at the time were the #1 music directors. So most of the songs were sung by Lataji. So as a result, at the studio, in those days when songs were recorded, we didn't dub, in the sense we had to sing with the orchestra. Even if it was an 80-member band, we sing with the orchestra, and if anybody makes a mistake, we start re-recording the entire song. So in that process, I think I learned a lot of things, first, how to project a voice with such a big orchestra, even though all of us have mics. And then secondly, also the process of being able to record for different directors, for different movies. It took a few years, and then they started keeping my songs later on. But that process, I think, helped me a lot to learn, because initially when you come into playback singing, you don't know how to handle a mic for a film song, and you sometimes have to giggle in a song, laugh in a song, and I was a bit shy and inhibited those days. it helped me cross over all those things.
At any point during that process, did you ever feel frustrated that you were not going to receive the recognition?
I must say that once or twice when I felt that I had sung the song very well, or it was particularly a kind of a composition which I liked very much, then I said, I wish my voice would stay. But then that was just a momentary. I never felt frustrated. I never allowed that emotion to come in, because I've always felt that's a very destroying emotion for any musician to have.
I have read that you had to walk out of the Hey Ram project with Kamal Haasan. I was wondering what your reasons were for that?
Basically, it was my management and him, they didn't agree on some of the terms. And so that's the reason I had to walk out, because I could not go over the management and say I'll do it, because in this country you have people who take care of everything, and as an artist we just focus on writing or playing or things like that. So many decisions are made by the management and people who do that on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So even though they couldn't come to a conclusion regarding certain things, so I had to get out of the whole thing.
What is it like being married to a man with children? I know you have gotten close to them, and I was wondering what their reaction to you has been.
I'd say that probably the children were one of the greatest unifying factors for us, because in the process of the recordings, the children would come to the studio, and I really felt very drawn to them. And after, I used to be Kavi auntie for them, and it's amazing that the moment the marriage ceremony finished, I think the other emotional moment in my life was when all the three of them hugged me and called me Ma. I couldn't have asked for anything more, the fact they had instant acceptance, and now sometimes I feel worried about the fact that being a professional person, I have to go to Bombay and sing, and I leave them, and now I've left them for so many days, both of us have.
I was wondering who takes care of them while you're away.
My mother-in-law does, like his mother's sister.
My aunt is there.
Aunt is there, so she's a wonderful person. But even now, when I sometimes say whether I should leave for Bombay, and I'm worried about it, my children, especially my daughter, would come and say, "No, Ma, we're so proud of you that you sing for films. Go and don't worry about us. We look after ourselves. But you shouldn't stop singing. Just don't worry about it. Don't have second thoughts." So I feel truly blessed that way.
How old are they, the children?
15, 12 and 9. 15 daughter, 12 one son, and the youngest one is 9.
Okay.
Then my daughter started saying, why don't you, get married and have somebody with you also, and so that it'll be nice. She started talking, both of them, aunt and daughter. And then one day I asked her, who do you have in mind? Yeah, the auntie in Bombay, they all ran away then.
You have said, and I quote, music has always been an expression of different emotions and things that have happened to me in my life. And music inspired by your life experiences have been the most popular pieces, like Fantasy for your late mother, Beyond for your father, and Tribute to the Departed Soul for your late first wife, Viji. I was wondering, meeting and marrying Kavitha, has it inspired you to compose yet?
I'm doing a whole album for her.
I was wondering if you could demonstrate to us how you would sing, for example, Hawaii, Hawaii, something like that, as opposed to a classical song. If you would modulate your voice, how you would modulate your voice, in other words.
Well, Hawaii started out with a lot of nonsensical words, so it was a bit difficult to keep a straight face and sing it in the studio. Especially when I sang it, I had almost about an 80-piece orchestra in the hall, and a few of them were sort of facing towards me. So to have to sing all these words and have people watching your face like that was quite amusing, in fact. So I just hum a couple of lines for you. Hua, hua, honolulu, lunalulu, honolulu, Hindiki, Hong Kong, King Kong, I see Lucy, you see Lucy, I see to see, let's see to see, Mombasa, ping pong.
I can get it quickly.
No. Yeah, and it's been, if you've seen the film, it's been filmed very beautifully.
Yes.
Sridevi's done it very well. And in contrast, probably a very sedate song like, let's say, Love Story 1942, which is just a shy 16-year-old singing about first love.
One of your Filmfare Awards too.
Yeah, I think the song has been beautifully composed and very beautifully written too. R.T. Burman and Javed Akhtar. दिल में कैसे ये क्या हुआ चुपके से.
That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Tell us about your children. Are any of them going to be shaping up as musicians, following your path?
My last son is very interested in playing the violin, and my second son is interested in singing and playing the violin. My daughter Sita, she's very much into singing. In fact, she wants me to make an album for her. She was singing with the Beijing Symphony in China. The last album I did, Global Symphony. One of these songs, she sang one of the songs. So she's into music. And my last son has always said that he wants to be a violin
He
soloist.
sings and plays the violin both. Both I would say he's adept at both, skilled at both.
So hopefully, at least one of them continues the tradition. I'll be happy.
Yeah, I definitely want the younger one to, keep up his violin standards of, playing.
How would both of you like history to remember you?
My dream has been to not be forgotten after one is gone. Like, he was in my field. I mean, many quotes says, God of Indian violin, things like that. But for many cases, people remember when you are alive and play and there. And then after you are gone, you might be forgotten. But by doing all these things, the music lives there. Then that's all my dream is.
What would your legacy be?
Well, I confess I haven't thought of posterity like that. But
Good.
But I do feel that maybe even about if 8 to 10 songs, if they could, in my career, if I could say that if they had a timeless element about it, like the grandchildren, or they would still accept those songs as like the way certain songs of K.L. Sehgal remembered, and Lataji songs would be remembered, and Muhammad Rafi, and so even about 8, 10 of my songs, if they have the timeless quality, like today, even though Geeta Dutt has passed away so many years, there are some songs which you feel, only Geeta ji could have sung those songs. So if even momentarily, if people could feel that, okay, only Kavitha could have probably sung those songs, then I would say that my walking in the path of music has been on the right track.
Well, it has been a pleasure having you with us. Thank you so much for doing the interview.
Our pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
like history to remember you.